Morning, guys. Today, Wayne Dyer shares with us some more wisdom, and this one he reminds us of is within us, and that is, you can't give away what you don't have. And isn't this so true? So when we look at ourselves, as we look at ourselves trying to develop the full power and control of our mind, if we don't fully control ourselves and that power, that positive power of our mind, how is it that we can even begin to share that or give away that with others? So, same goes with fundamental law in life, which is love. If we don't love ourselves, if we don't feel good about ourselves, well, then how can we give that to anyone else? We can't give away what we don't have. And it sounds so simple, but it's number one. Everything starts with us. You have to love yourself. You have to believe in yourself. You have to know you have a lot of good to give, and then you can share that with others. Have a great morning, everyone.
You can change the programming. You can rewrite your subconscious programs. And why is that relevant? If you took the wishes and desires of the conscious mind and used that as a program to put the beliefs into the subconscious mind, it's the most exciting and liberating thing you can ever do in your life. You know why? Because once it's in the subconscious program, 95% of the day, without you even thinking about it, your mind will take you to that direction. And that is your freedom. You want to change the world? We don't have to physically go out and physically change the world first. First, we have to change our belief about the world, our belief of who we are in the world. We're not victims, but we've been programmed to believe we're frail, vulnerable, that we're victims of the world. And the fact is, no, we are the most powerful beings and entities on this planet. We want to get out of the box? Think out of the box, and that will change all of it.
All right, Zach, this is going to be heavy. Okay, change your beliefs. You know, many people believe they can't change their beliefs. They believe that their beliefs are who they are. And we're here to tell you that you can change your beliefs. He talked a little bit about your conscious thoughts and your conscious beliefs and your subconscious beliefs. And he's right. 95% of what you believe guides your life. And if your beliefs are not serving you, and you should take an assessment of your beliefs, because a lot of the things that you believe, and this is going to be a little heavy here, they're not your beliefs. Somebody gave them to you. They're gifts that somebody gave to you at a time in your life when you had no choice but to accept it. Because when you're very young, you don't really challenge the conscious part of your brain. Your prefrontal cortex is not really developed till the age of 25. So the critical part is not even developed that much. When you're young, people give you beliefs, and you just accept them. And they may not be serving you. So you should check your beliefs and see if they're serving you. And if they're not, you have the power to change them. If they are, double down on them. You know, make them a part of you. And also, I'm gonna leave you this last little thing here about the word belief. BELIEF, 6-letter word. And look at the 3 letters in the middle, LIE. Half of the things you believe are not true. So you need to find out what things are true and what things aren't true. For example, a belief that you're not good enough. Who told you that lie? You don't have to believe that now. You're not smart enough. Who told you that? You don't have to believe that now. You can change your beliefs. So, and you want to change them at a subconscious level, and that's going to involve affirmations. That's going to involve visualizations. That's going to involve meditation. That's going to involve getting around other people who believe at the level you want to believe at, and they believe in you, and you believe in the belief they have in you. You can change your beliefs. You are not your beliefs. But if you're not careful, your beliefs make you who you are. Let's go. All right, Jim. I believe we're having fun here, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow. I'm speechless. A couple of things in there that he talked about was thinking outside the box and thinking outside of the beliefs that you have created for yourself. I think ultimately the life that you create is a product of the beliefs that you have in yourself, and if the life you currently have is not the life you want to live, you need to reassess the beliefs that you have so that you can move closer to the direction of the life that you ultimately want to create. He talked a little bit about positioning things within your mind so that the subconscious mind can ultimately take root and help you move in that direction. And I think in order to give the conscious mind the beliefs that you want, it boils down to getting in the environment that is going to drive the appropriate behavior and belief in yourself. Back to a lot of the content that's on this channel is about just getting around the right people who have the right beliefs and being able to take those beliefs and plant them in your own subconscious mind to then move in the direction that you want to create your life.
Well, I have a lot to say on belief.
Let's go, Evan.
I think
Let's
lack
go.
of belief is the world's #1 problem, and that's what I wake up every day trying to help solve. And we've talked a lot on this channel about the importance of an environment and content and watching the videos of the people who are believing the things that you want to believe. With this video, I want to take it in a slightly different direction, and that's community. When you can find people who believe in you, hold on to them, especially a significant other. But if you have anybody around you who believes in you, hold on to them, spend more time with them, hold on to them, seek them out, go look for them. An entrepreneur friend of mine was going to an event. He feels isolated, doesn't know enough entrepreneurs that he can kind of meet face to face. So he's looking for events that he can go off and join. And because he watches his channel and he knows me and he's been learning a lot over the past number of years, I told him, listen, when you go to that event, you're gonna know more than probably the speakers who are on stage. If we're just going for knowledge, you're gonna know more than most of the speakers on stage. So the goal of going to that event is not to sit in the audience with your notepad out hoping to learn something. If you go there, you're probably gonna be disappointed because you already know more than most of those people. Your goal is community. So your goal is to go and find and introduce yourself to 25 people who are at that event, and to come out with 1 to 3 people who then you can meet in the coming weeks. You're gonna go and talk to 25 people, introduce yourself, get to know their business, explain what you do, and see who you have any kind of vibe with, that then you can continue the connection afterwards. You need community. You need to be around other people who are trying to do the thing that you're doing. And if you start to outgrow your community, and you hop to the next community and hop to the next community and hop to the next community, but you get started where you are with what you've got. And so whatever it is that you want to learn, whatever new belief you want to instill in yourself, look at what events. Like, yes, use these YouTube channels, use podcasts and books and other content, but look at what events are going on around you. A lot of them are free. A lot of them you just have to register and show up to. And make the goal not to go and learn from whoever's on stage. Make the goal to meet the other people who are there in that room, who are just like you. And 1 out of 25 people might be your next best friend, might be your next business partner, might be the next person to join your community and help you believe a little bit more in yourself.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
And in 1925,
Good afternoon, guys. I remember Stephen Covey saying in his book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that we have an emotional bank account. And when I heard that term, it really changed the way I looked at everything that I said and felt. So he says that we have an emotional bank account, which means that we can make deposits in our own self-worth emotional bank account, but we can make deposits in other people's emotional bank accounts. So we can choose to listen and try to understand people, even if we don't agree with what they're saying. That makes a deposit in their emotional bank account. And he says that we also make withdrawals when we decide to not fully try to understand people, as an example. So we have this emotional bank account, and it's what fulfills us or takes away from our true great selves. So I just wanted to share that with you. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
You know, the negative voice in my head would say all the things that I did wrong, and then it would start to be even louder, like, see, I told you shouldn't have gone for it. See, I told you were going to fail, right? And so it is a thing that can be crippling and can prevent you from moving forward. Falling to your knees doesn't mean you have to wait to be saved. You can get back up because you are your own hero. I say that's my goal, and now I better bust my ass and figure out how on earth I get there. Yeah, I actually do want to be the #1 salesperson, but I freaking hate sending emails, and so I only sent 30. So now, the most amazing thing about this process is it allows you to say, do I actually want to be in sales? Because maybe my mission is still right, but now I don't know if the path I've chosen is right. And that's the beauty of setting goals. Well, actually, that's a lie. I was about to lie to you, Evan. So the truth is,
Believe Nation, I'm super excited to have back on the channel author of the New York Times best-selling book, Radical Confidence, Lisa Bilyeu. How you doing?
what up, Evan? I love the putting it out in the universe, telling what, you know, where we're going to get to. I love it.
So full disclosure for people watching, Lisa and I are recording this before the book dropped. I still have the galley version, the non-pink side version. So this is extra rare. But I say that because I think a lot of people have goals like that. I want to be a New York Times best-selling author.
Mm-hmm.
And then they don't tell their friends, or they don't tell their husband or wife, and they would not say it on a podcast or interview. And maybe they have it on their vision board, but most days they don't actually believe it. So when I say I love the reaction, is like, hey, we're putting the pin out there in the universe to make this happen. A lot of people, and you're so crisp in the book on setting goals and eyeballing them like a shirtless Ryan Gosling.
I love that you pulled that line.
I mean, that's not how I eyeball my goals, but I get it. I get where you're going with it. For people who have goals like that, and they have like days where they feel like it's possible, but then most days they feel like it's not. What's the advice that you give them?
Yeah, Evan, I love this so much, because here's the thing. Once upon a time, I used to be the person who's like, you can't say that out loud. And there was multiple reasons. One, I was so afraid that if I didn't get there, I would be so embarrassed. And I'd be like, I'd have to tell everyone that I failed. And then the fear of failing was so crippling that it then stopped me from saying it out loud. Now, to your point, if you don't say it out loud, then at least the people around you, like, I think friendships and relationships can help you stay accountable for the goals in the life that you want. And not to say them out loud is actually missing an opportunity to help you actually get to that goal that you want. So that is so important. And then also a big thing is, I realized that it's not just a fleeting idea or a fleeting like, oh, I want to be a New York Times bestseller. I say that's my goal, and now I better bust my ass and figure out how on earth I get there. So nothing's by chance. It doesn't mean that I feel like, oh, I'm confident I'm going to get there. No, Evan, I'm petrified. I don't know if I'm going to get there. I don't even know if I'm going to sell one book. In fact, I probably will, because my mum bought it. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't have cockiness and thinking, oh, if I just say it's going to happen, then I'm going to get there. I take ownership and responsibility, even though I'm petrified, to say it out loud that that's what I want. And that's what radical confidence is. Going in with saying, this is what I want. I don't know if I'm going to succeed. I may fall on my face and I'm scared, but you know what? I'm going to take a bunch of tools that I've created and I will keep moving forward. And that's what radical confidence is. It's not like just saying, oh, well, feel the fear and do it anyway. It's about feeling the fear and having a freaking game plan and a step-by-step instructional manual on how on earth you're going to get to that end goal. So anyway, talking about the New York Times, you know, the first people I called was Jay Shetty, Mel Robbins, Brendan Burchard, right? I'm calling all of them like, guys, tell me all the things I don't know. And I had a list of questions, and I went in very purposefully with what are the things I'm not thinking of? What's the best thing? What's the worst thing? What are the pitfalls? What are the most amazing, magical moments that you didn't realize? And I got prepared. And that's the key. Have a plan, get prepared, and then every day march towards that, whether you feel great about it or not.
I love that you use it as accountability. That was like a magic word that stood out as you were explaining it, that the goal becomes your accountability to show up for today.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I love about you is that I understand that the goal is not the whole thing, right? I mean, ultimately you want to have impact. You could have done, you don't have to do any of this stuff. You don't have to build impact theory. You made enough money from Quest. You could have had the life that you want, but money is not enough. It's not the actual life that you want. It's much more about the impact than any individual goal. So what ends up happening then when you don't? I think that's the biggest downside. It's like if you don't hit your goal, when you said, oh my gosh, I used to be so embarrassed if I wouldn't hit my goal. I think most people are still stuck there. Like they're so afraid to share their goals because if they don't hit it, they're going to be really embarrassed. So if you can remove some of the pain around not hitting the goal, then maybe people will be a lot more willing to share it and start taking action. So what happens if you don't hit one of your big goals?
Yeah, it used to literally crush me. And it was, the negative voice in my head would say all the things that I did wrong. And then it would start to be even louder. It's like, see, I told you shouldn't have gone for it. See, I told you were going to fail, right? And so it is a thing that can be crippling and can prevent you from moving forward. So there's a couple of things there. First of all, is everything is aligned with my mission. I have a mission, and that is my freaking North Star. My goals are just in service of my mission. So my mission, I think it's very important. I want your audience to actually hear, like for me, it was very important for me to be very succinct on what that mission is, so that there's no room to go, well, yeah, sure, I'll do this and sure, I'll do that. How many things do we love to do or want to do, but is it aligned with that North Star of yours? So getting very succinct on what your mission is extremely important. And that's actually step number one. So for me, it's to create empowering content for 14-year-old girls to believe in themselves so they don't have to spend the next 20 years unwiring the negative mindset that I had to do, right? Very succinct. I know the who, 14-year-old girls. I know the why, so they don't have to spend the next 20 years unwiring. And I know the what, creating content. So I have a very clear mission, and I know what levers to pull. So I know content's going to be the massive lever that I'm going to be pulling. So now I go, how do I set goals to create content that is aligned with my mission? And so what I do is I'll create that goal. I'll create the path to that goal. Okay, step one. It has to be binary, Evan. You can't you can't give yourself wiggle room to get out of it. So for instance, if my mission is, perfect example that I actually use in the book, if your mission is to help people on their health journey, and you say, all right, how am I going to do that? I want to work for Quest in sales because I know when I sell people Quest bars, I'm actually helping them on their journey. All right, so you know your mission, you want to help people in the health space. You know that what role you want to play. You want to sell bars in order to create that. And now let's say your goal is to become the best salesperson of the year, because now that aligns with your mission, right? Because that is now to you a way of showing that you are actually executing on your mission. So now that's the goal. I want to be top salesperson of the year. Great. How do you do that? Break that down into smaller goals. All right. So if I know I want to be the great person of the year, I need to win month over month. Amazing. How do you win month over month? That means I need to make 20 sales. Great. How many emails do you have to send out in order to make those 20 sales? I have to send out 70 emails every single day because my conversion shows that that's what's going to get me to those sales. Amazing. Now you know you have to send out 70 emails every single day. And you have a roadmap, because even when you don't feel it, even when you're not sure, even when you're fearful that you're not going to hit your goal, you need to keep on that path. And when you have this roadmap that says, did you send out 70 emails? Yes or no? Make it binary. And then assess every month or quarterly, whatever you want. But I like to assess every month. Now what I do is I look back and say, did I send those 70 emails? And if my answer is no, why not? Because sometimes we have a mission, but our day-to-day lives, we actually don't want to do what it takes. And I think that it's beautiful to just own it and say, you know what? Yeah, I actually do want to be the number one salesperson, but I freaking hate sending emails. And so I only sent 30. So now the most amazing thing about this process is it allows you to say, do I actually want to be in sales? Because maybe my mission is still right, but now I don't know if the path I've chosen is right. And that's the beauty of setting goals. It doesn't have to be, did I succeed or not? It is, did I hit it? If not, why? Does this align with who I am and what I want to achieve? Yes or no? And so it, to me, allowed me to, every time I felt badly about myself, every time I worried about failing, every time I wasn't sure if this actually is what I should be doing because I'm inadequate at this skill set, I could talk myself out of it. But I know talking myself out of it actually won't be in service of my mission. So that's, to me, how you set small goals, reassess, and no, don't judge yourself if you hit that goal. Just ask yourself, why not?
How much do you celebrate when you hit the goal?
I've learned to celebrate the lesson, because if I hit, well, actually, that's a lie. I was about to lie to you, Evan. So the truth is, when you hit a goal, yes, give yourself that pat on the back, because for so long I was seeking external validation to make me feel good. And so what happens is you're waiting for other people to give you the pat on the back, and now you're not actually encouraging yourself. And so to me, it's, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. So when you hit a goal, absolutely freaking celebrate. Say, you know what? I was the person that showed up today in order to do that. I was the person that sent those 70 emails. No one else did it. I did that. And giving yourself a pat on the back is so freaking important, because it allows you then to do the next thing. It allows you to do the next thing. Because if all you're looking at is that big audacious year, 5 years, 10 years goal, you know, we're trying to build Disney. Now imagine, Evan, I never celebrated any goals because I keep saying, well, we haven't built Disney yet. Now it's just like, I'm not allowing myself the small wins. So that's important. But at the same time, I actually also try not to focus on the fact that I hit my goal. Because when talking about moments of failure, moments where you don't reach it, how on earth do you keep going? That's the question I ask myself. And so I look at failure and I look at things like that. If I didn't hit my goal, and I said, well, did I try? Did I give it my all? And if not, actually, good. I'm glad that I noticed that I didn't give it my all. And now I'm going to kick myself up my own butt and tell myself, hey, next time, if you want to reach that goal, you're going to have to keep going hard, or you're going to, have to send those emails. But what if you did do everything? What if you sent those 70 emails? What if you got up every single morning and was so aligned and you still didn't reach your goal? I think it's imperative in those moments to say, I did everything I set out to do and I didn't nail it. Okay, I'm so proud of myself that I still did everything I said to do. Now, how do I pivot or tweak or change what I need to do for my next set of goals in order to get there? And so I think the imperative part of this is being proud of yourself for being the person that always shows up, being proud of yourself that you're the person that can get up after failure, and being proud of yourself that you're the learner. And when I was able to keep repeating these things to me, it really did help me to move forward in spite of failure, in spite of facing my inadequacies and seeing how bad I was at certain things, and allowing myself to keep going so that I could get better each day.
One of the things I struggle a lot with, and maybe get some Lisa Bilyeu coaching live here, it's all mission, right? Like, I think the world's biggest problem is people don't believe in themselves. I think everybody has, I call it Michael Jordan level genius at something, and I want to help be a conduit to help people unlock it and chase that down. Like, imagine a world where everybody's living their Michael Jordan level genius.
I love that.
But on the goals, I really struggle because what I've found, I barely celebrate hitting an outcome. Even this as an example. So like 20 minutes before this, I'm just taking some notes. I got Lisa coming on. I'm pacing in the kitchen. Nina's like, "Are you nervous?" It's like, "Yeah, but it'll be fun because Lisa's always great." And that's more the celebration. Is like, hey, doing something that, I wanted to be a good reflection for the book, a good reflection for you, and how well something does just it's becoming less and less important to me. When I hit 1 million subscribers, we did a live stream, and that was more for the audience and for me to celebrate them. And then when I hit 2 or 3, it'd just be okay. Like the celebration is more the day to day. And I honestly really struggle getting excited enough for any goal, and yet still wake up every day trying to pursue the mission. So what would you, what is, how does that land? What should I be doing differently? Where am I screwing up, Lisa?
So I wouldn't say screwing up, Evan, but I would say evolving. And so I think the key is, how are you identifying when you're on your mission? Like, how do you know? So yes, let's say, for instance, you've got 2 million, subscribers. That's a number, right? And so how are you associating that number with what's pulling at your heartstrings?
It's always an individual human. So it's talking to you today. It's a comment that comes in the channel. It's a video DM from someone on Instagram. It's all the stuff that we love receiving of, hey, Lisa, your video changed my life, or you gave me the confidence when nobody else would. Like it's all qualitative versus, if we have 500 million views on a channel, I don't even know what that means. Like that's bigger than the US population, right? I can't, it doesn't emotionally get me hyped up. I don't care enough about like 10 million subscribers or 5 million or whatever the next thing is. It's not, that alone is not enough to get me like, I got to get up today and do it. But I've gotten every day up and made videos for 13 years, except that one moment when, my dog passed away and I couldn't do it. So I've always struggled. I probably have a quarterly crisis of confidence to say, but what are my next goals? What should my next goal be? And I never get excited enough about a specific number or metric. So it just goes back, okay, just keep doing the work.
Yeah. Okay. This is so amazing. I love this discussion because here's the thing. You have to cultivate it. This stuff doesn't happen by accident. Okay. And so for instance, with the numbers, I totally hear you. Like, it's like, it feels rather abstract, and I get moved by letters, emails, messages. That's what rocks my world. That's what reminds, like when I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. When I get, especially like a guy, when he says, Lisa, I've just bought your book for my daughter because she needs it. That pulls at my heartstrings. At Quest, when I was knee deep in running up our shipping department, I had zero idea what I was doing. I spent 8 years as a stay-at-home wife. So here I was, I had 40 employees underneath me in the shipping department. I had zero idea what I was doing. And every time I was scared, nervous, afraid, had no idea what I was doing, I was like, how do I make sure, like when I'm tired, how on earth do I keep showing up with enthusiasm and love my life? And I started to realize there were moments where certain letters, so the one letter that came to me that really stuck with me was from a woman who had suffered from an anorexia. She had something like, she was 40 pounds or something. So she was in hospital on her deathbed. And she'd really struggled. And she wrote a letter saying, thank you for creating Quest bars. It has now made me okay with calories again. And you've now developed a community that I feel safe, that I can talk about my health issues. Evan, that letter came in 2012. I still remember it. There was one more letter I remember. A mother wrote in saying, my son has type 1 diabetic. And every time he's like 5 years old, and every time he goes to parties and schools, I am like the terrible mom that has to take all the candy away, that has to make sure he doesn't eat all the cake like all the other kids. And she was like, and he's tried Quest and it doesn't spike his insulin. And now we're like baking with it. We're making all these foods with it. And thanks to you, I feel like a better mother. That, again, was 10 years ago. I hold on to those letters. I've cultivated the meaning behind that. I use that as my why. And so going back to what you're saying about the numbers, I very purposely will put in things that say, okay, Evan, when you hit 3 million, right? And you have to decide this beforehand. When you hit 3 million, you are going to have your team pull their most favorite comments of the year. And what you're going to do is you're going to take 3 hours and you're going to have lunch with your team. And you're all going to read out the letters or the comments that impacted you guys the most in that year. And then maybe you reach out to your fan base and you say, guys, we're going to do a celebration and we want to hear from you. I want to do a couple of little videos. So have your fans submit little videos to you and really cultivate an occasion that allows you to emotionally indulge in what you're actually creating and the impact you're having. That won't happen by accident. And when you've got such a business mindset like you have, you're so focused on momentum, on moving forward, that's just part of your personality. Don't beat yourself up over it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's allowed you to still show up after freaking 13 years. And so now love that part of you, be proud of that part of you, but just implement other little strategies in your process that allow you to take those moments. And maybe you're not the right person to do that, Evan. Maybe you are the business mind that actually doesn't think like that. And now you have to actually choose someone on your team that is. So for instance, me and my husband, we have been together for 22 years. We're about to celebrate our 20-year wedding anniversary. And thank you. And we literally said to each other after a while where it's like, I would feel disconnected from him, right? And I'll turn around to him and I'm like, babe, like, aren't you feeling it? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, do you not care about me as much as I care about you? Right? And I was used to take that offensive. But over time, what we realize is I have a much more sensitive monitor of when we're starting to drift apart. So what we did is we said, okay, no shame. It's not a bad thing about you, babe. And I realized that you just have a different barometer than I do. So why don't we set me, Lisa Bilyeu, as the responsible party of this relationship to be the person that waves the flag when we start to split apart and we start to not have that connection. We agreed on it. Amazing. Now he does his thing and I'm the responsible party. Now going back to your question, Evan, if maybe this isn't your skill set, and that's okay. So now choose someone in your team where they love this, that they have this barometer, that they understand and get, oh, okay, it's coming up to the year mark. I'm the responsible party, or not even the year mark, the 3 million mark, whatever you want to make. I'm the responsible party because this isn't Evan's skill set, and that's okay. We need to stop judging ourselves for things we're not good at and just say, that's the person that's now going to be doing it. And they're going to provide an event. They're the one who's going to pull the comments, and you see how like that can then spread out into a strategy that allows you to lean into it more and more.
I like it. I mean, as you were giving that advice, my first thought went to, well, why wait till we hit 4 million subscribers? Let's do it right now.
I love it. And that's amazing. The only problem is how I think of things as being sustainable. What are the processes that I'm going to put in for the next 20 years to keep me going? Mm-hmm. So
Good evening, guys. I want to share with you an example from Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and how we can all laugh our way to infinite mind wealth as we make mistakes. I remember a mistake he was describing by a gentleman who thought he was understanding his son, that he was actually trying to fully understand him. By posing the question, I remember he was telling Stephen Covey, I don't understand my son. He just won't listen to me. And try to think if you've ever done this before, because I know I have. And then Stephen Covey would say to him, let me get this straight. You don't understand your son because he won't listen to you. And so it went on back and forth until finally Stephen Covey said to him, I thought that to understand someone else, you had to listen to them. But the man was trapped in his own mind. He thought that he understood his son, and he just kept going on and on. So we got to remember, this is a tough process. Have a great evening, everyone.
Humans are fun in that we tend to learn by experiencing first what we don't want before we don't want it, rather than saying, this is what I choose, and putting our energy in that direction. It doesn't have to be that way, but we had to have 2 global wars before we said no more war. We've had to have Holocaust before we say no more Holocaust. We've had to have these atrocities before we say no more, rather than choosing to live in honoring all life and all beliefs in a universal sense. There is an awakening of human consciousness that we've never seen before. and where that leads, I think, as we embrace the fact that we are a global family. We may not always like one another, but I believe we truly love one another, and I've seen evidence of that. We may not like the habits of one another every day, but when it comes down to life or death, we will lay our lives on the line for one another. And that's very unique in a species. So I think consciousness, definitely there is an evolution in consciousness, and that evolution is unfolding. It's not being shared in the mainstream media. You're probably not going to see it on CNN or BBC, but we all know it's there.
Need motivation?
Watch a Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Gregg Braden, and my take on his top 10 rules of success. Enjoy. Rule number 2, reprogram your beliefs.
How do we start to reprogram some of our beliefs, Greg?
Well, it's a good question. And, you know, the techniques are beyond what I can offer in 5 or 6 minutes here. It begins with an awareness, allowing ourselves to have an awareness. And for me, it begins with a promise. It begins with a promise to ourselves to be truthful, to be honest, to be factual about who we are, our relationship to our own bodies, our relationship to other people, our relationship to the cosmos, to God or a higher power, our relationship to the earth, our relationship to the past, and our relationship to the future. It's all about relationships. It begins with a promise that we will not lie to ourselves about who we are. And when we are faced with the immutable truths that the new science is revealing, we have no choice. We have 2 choices. We either discount and say we are not going to accept what the science has told us, or when we embrace those deep truths, then we have to relinquish the beliefs that have supported the false narrative of the past. And that's a choice that we all have to make. And I'll just be very honest. Again, what I'm saying to you flies in the face of what I was taught in my formal education through university, I was a corporate scientist in the defense industry, in the energy industry, in the information energy systems. Cisco Systems is my last corporate position. And everything I'm saying to you, it flies in the face of what I was taught in those systems. However, it is supported by the new discoveries. And when the new discoveries tell us that they no longer support the old story, it's time for a new story. And we are living that time right now. You know, what I also know is it takes a lot of work to embrace a new story. It's not easy to change a belief system for anyone. When I was, I think many of your listeners probably know a little bit about me if they're familiar with me. I'm the product of a very dysfunctional family, an abusive alcoholic family, survivor of childhood trauma. My father, the abuser, left my family when I was 10. And when he left, my mother handed me a book. She said to me, she says, I am not equipped to help you through what it is that you're going to go through. She goes, because I'm hurting too. But she said, I think this book may help you. And it was written in 1929. It was a book by a man, it was a Sufi, and his name was Khalil Gibran. And the title of the book is called The Prophet.
It's my favorite.
Yeah, well, each chapter is very brief, but it invites us into deep contemplation of some aspect of our lives. So when I was 10 years old, I read a chapter on work because I had to lie about my age and go to work. We were very poor. I had to go to work in a copper factory is where I ended up because we needed the money. Yeah. And what Khalil Gibran told us about work has been a cornerstone of my life from that moment to this moment. It's on my wall right now. It's on a plaque in front of my computer. There it is right there. and it applies to the work that it takes to change our belief system. This is why I'm bringing it up right now. What Khalil Gibran said is work is love made visible. Work is love made visible. Do we love ourselves enough to put the energy, to put the work into being honest, truthful, and factual with ourselves so that we can become the best version of ourselves possible? Ultimately, it boils down to something that simple. And it can be as complex as we choose to make it. But as a scientist, I have to tell you, life is simple, nature is simple, until we make it complex with symbols and words and mathematics. So it all comes down to love. Do we love ourselves enough to put the energy into being honest with ourselves about who we are? And once we do that, and this is so interesting, I just have to tell you this. I was with a group of men. I was in a very manly workshop, all males. And some of the men said to me, I'll do this once, but I'll never do it again. And don't you tell anybody, that I'm even going to consider it. And I said, that's beautiful. And here's the reason. I didn't trick him. I was very honest. I said, here's the reason. It's because once you take that first step and you open yourself to that truth, you cannot go back. It's impossible to unsee what you have seen. It's impossible to unknow what has been revealed. You can discount it, but you will never unknow it. And if you're going to live an authentic life of honesty and truthfulness, then you must embrace what it is that you've discovered about yourself. And it just goes on from there. Isn't that beautiful?
Rule number 3, use the power of prayer.
I said, when we see your prayers on the outside, what's happening inside your body? So when we think of Tibetan prayers, we think of the chant, and we think of the mudras and the mantras and the bells and the bowls and the chimes and the incense. We think of all of that. And so I said, when we see all those things, when we see your prayers on the outside, I was interested, what's happening inside? And the man, through the translator, he said to me, you have never seen our prayers because a prayer cannot be seen. He said, what you see are the things that we do to create the feeling inside of our bodies. The feeling is the prayer. The feeling is the prayer. Now, this parallels what science is telling us. We have ceremonies and rituals that are meaningful to us, but this is what's so important. What the abbot said to me was the words are not the prayer. But in the modern world, we in the West have been taught if we say the right words at the right time, something is supposed to happen. And when it does not, sometimes we lose trust and we lose faith. But the words, it's not the words, it's the feeling, the very human experience that has been discounted by the patriarchy, by the male-dominated patriarchy through the ages. The power of human emotion is really where our highest levels of mastery and our deepest levels of power. Women typically are more attuned, not always, but typically are more attuned to their emotions because of their relationship with children and childbirth, their relationship with nature. And men as warriors, it was believed that a man could not be an effective warrior if he was empathizing with his enemy. So his emotions, walk a mile in your enemy's shoes. That doesn't work on the battlefield. So now I personally have found that is not true. I'm a warrior. I've studied martial arts all of my life, and I've studied human emotion all of my life. I'm a double Cancerian male. So Cancerians are all about the power of emotion. And I think emotion is our greatest tool to help us navigate with a different kind of warfare. It doesn't have to be hand-to-hand combat. And in the emotional judo and the emotional kung fu, through the power of our emotions, we often can disarm a potentially violent situation through the understanding of our emotions. And that's a powerful form of warfare. So without anyone actually being hurt. So it's interesting. You ask about the soul. The soul is.
Does it tune in? Does it tune in?
Well, the soul can be influenced. What the texts tell us is that there's this very interesting relationship between the soul and the body. They cohabit, and the body is a vehicle. They are united in some respects, but the soul is not influenced by those emotions to the degree that the body is. So this is more about bringing the vehicle, the body, into an alignment to free the soul to its deepest and truest levels of expression.
Rule number 4, never limit yourself.
Science is a way of knowing, and it's a relatively recent way of knowing. What we call the scientific method, Jay, it appeared about 300 years ago during the time of Isaac Newton when he formulated the laws of physics, is when we say the scientific method began. Now, other people argue and say, you know, there were scientific approaches that were done in the time of the Greeks and the Romans, and it's true, but it was formalized and structure was given to the scientific method. Science is designed to be constantly updated. It is not a static story. And this, I think, is where the mistake has been made, because we live in a world right now. There's a battle playing out, multiple battles. There's a battle for our thoughts. And you can see that playing out in mainstream media across every nation. It's not just America or just Australia or just Europe or Africa or China. There's a battle for our thoughts. We all know that. There's a battle for our story, the way that we've been taught to think about ourselves. And the stakes have never been higher, because the way that we think about ourselves determines the policies that we embrace, the laws that we agree to live and abide under. Those are all based upon our story. So all of a sudden you see the battle for our story is front and center. I mean, what could be more important than that right now? So when we talk about that battle, there's a battle for who we are and the way that we think about ourselves. Academia is trying to hang on to what's called the standard model. There's a standard model for the creation of the universe and the creation of humans. We call that the Big Bang, and we call it evolution. The science no longer supports that story, and this is where science is stuck right now. So we ask science to tell us who we are. Science is doing a really good job. And there are scientists that don't like the answers. So there's an attempt being made now to cherry pick the answers. And part of that is that science has been hijacked by corporations. They will cherry pick the information that supports their agenda, and they'll leave the rest behind. Science has been hijacked by corporations, by politics. This certainly is true with the climate change agenda and the climate change conversation. By religion, science has been hijacked by religion. Science has been hijacked by academia. And there are universities. I'm of the age right now where I have colleagues who have been teaching, they're professors at big universities in Europe and America. They've been teaching 40 to 50 years is how long they've been teaching. And I asked them, why can't you share with your students the new discoveries, the DNA discoveries that overturn the story of evolution as we've come to know it? And what they say to me, they said, Greg, first of all, they say, if I were to teach the new discoveries, it would invalidate my 40 or 50 year career as a professor. And I said, no, it would not. It would actually show your students how relevant science is, because science is made to be constantly updated with new discoveries. It's not static. You cannot teach your students the story you learned in the 1950s, because new discovery, the technology has given us the ability to look into DNA in a way that we couldn't do in the 50s and 60s, to look into the cosmos with telescopes. We couldn't do that in the 50s and 60s. So the science, in large part, and it's very common right now, science has been hijacked, corporations, politics, religion, and academia. So there is a battle going on right now for our story, for our thoughts, for our beliefs, for our story. There's actually, it goes even deeper, and I don't know how deep we can go into this. There's a battle for our very humanness that's playing out, and most people don't even know about it. There is
a thinking and an agenda that's being perpetrated that says that humans are frail, weak, powerless, temporary, and that we need something outside of our bodies, computer chips to replace our neurons, chemicals in our blood, wires under our skin, and to perpetuate our species. But what they fail to say is that all of that external technology mimics what we already do in the cells of our body, except our bodies do it better. Yeah. All of the networking is based upon neural networks that we already do, and we do so much better. In the interest of time, I'm beating around the bush. I'm just going to say it. The average human is about 50 trillion cells, give or take. Every one of those cells, 0.07 volts of electrical potential is in every one of those cells. Small potential, but you take 50 trillion times that 0.07 and it's over 350 trillion volts of electrical potential. That's a lot. Every cell in the body functions as a resistor, as a transistor, as a capacitor. Every cell in the body emits photons of light. It receives photons of light. That's information. Every cell in the body, on the external part of the cells, we have receptors that are like antenna receiving information. The genes in our DNA pick up certain wavelengths of light. They are antenna receiving information. And we self-regulate all of this soft technology through our thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, breath, and focus. And that is the core of our most ancient and cherished spiritual traditions. And this is what we're coming to terms with now, because there is a movement called the transhuman movement that is telling us that our bodies need to be replaced with machines. Here's the problem, and then I'll stop. The problem with that is once we begin to replace our soft technology, our natural neurons, and the membranes that allow cell potential, ion potentials across the cells, or our crystalline structure of our bones. Once we begin to replace that in one generation, it's the use it or lose it analogy. Pretty soon, the next generation, they lose access to those neurons. They lose access to those capabilities. And the point, and the whole point of the work that I'm doing right now is I'm not saying it's right, wrong, good, or bad. The question is, how much of ourselves do we want to give away to technology? And how can we answer that until we know who we are? And that's the whole point. We are just beginning to understand what it means to be human and the full extent of what our extraordinary potentials are to self-regulate our biology. COVID-19 has brought this front and center with our immune response. That's another conversation, but I'm saying it's up for us all right now. So all of this comes into play when we begin talking about the battle for our story and the role of science. We've got to keep science honest if science is going to serve us. And I think that is of monumental importance right now.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5.
you.